they know the one I love.
Hey guys, so we're just sitting in Maldives and we just thought that, so we took sort of our annual Q1 holidays and so taking quite a bit of time off as a founders, and so we sort of thinking it's a appropriate way and appropriate place to just basically sit down, rewind a bit about who we are as a people and as a company at the same time, and then just basically tell our story of Kandy and of us, how we started, how much basically time we spent in this business, and what we are going to do in 2025, and basically connect historical experiences and basically transfer to the new goals and basically new way of doing business in 2025. So
in general, just to kind of like bring you guys on board, because I feel like we've been underground for quite some time. And a lot of people quite, they were not aware of like where we're coming from, who we are, and what kind of values we were holding here at Kandy. So I guess we just get rolling with the storyline and take it from there.
I mean, usually I think majority of the agencies, they start from another way that we started. Usually founders, they start initially with building personal brand, and being exposed to Twitter. And
I feel like they're just planning to have an agency. They're jumping into the business just because they want to make that money.
We started from the different side because we just sort of were underground, as Aistis said, and we were underground, and we just started with focusing on silently closing clients, getting our first bread, after like 5 years ago, and then basically delivering the best service in the game that is possible.
It's kind of like collecting trophies. You just sign the first few clients, you get a few case studies, you get your name out, and you get your first few case studies, and then you get your name out. So it's pretty much like I heard it somewhere. This guy Reese Wabara said it, where he doesn't want to kind of like open up a retail store until like his line of clothes are fully high end, like fully maxed out in terms of quality. So that's pretty much same here. I feel like we were just waiting for a moment when we feel like we can bring value on the table, and I guess the moment came. That's like 2025. That's the year to kind of like be outside of underground.
So let's get back to 5 years ago. So 5 years ago, every second e-commerce entrepreneur usually starts with a dropshipping store. So we started to do dropshipping. I'm not gonna go deep there because we totally failed. We just made a couple grands and that's it. And actually the funny reason why we started the business, so a bit of context, we were like 17, 18 years old. So we were just like ended school, and we basically were in debt for my dad for running a dropshipping store, and we needed to pay out the debt. And the biggest way, it was pretty simple, just close clients. Clients.
Back then it was funny how we treated money in general. I mean, I remember we were just sitting on a laptop, kind of like launching ads, doing whatever, planning all the usual stuff.
Doing everything.
And then I remember we thought influencer marketing is going to be huge, and we were like, okay, so we were just texting random Instagram pages back then. We were spending like $150, $350, whatever per promo. And we were just, getting back another, the second day, and thinking that, this store is gonna blow up.
Instagram fan pages. It used to be a big thing and actually used to work, but it doesn't really matter because that actual dropshipping store actually led us to start and run service business. At first it was really small, like back in the day, usually if you start an agency, you do it local, domestic. We are from Lithuania, from Europe, so we started to do a classic Elon Gazzy playbook where you just pick up the phone, do cold calling. We actually, I think the reason why we started an agency is that you watched an Elon's course, and then you said that agency is a good model because you just need a cold call, close it, and just deliver service.
Back then it was pretty easy. You just, you look at different models out there and you pick the one that sticks with you the most.
So we did all the grind. Cold calling, collecting leads like with hands through Instagram, through other sources, and we started to close first domestic clients. We were just like very, very little. We were just like actually two freelancers, running and running. Service.
It's pretty important, when you first start out, you gotta build the whole environment for yourself where you can actually live off of that model model pretty much. So I guess the first goal with that agency was just to pay off the debt and then to start living off the revenue. So get your first like 2K, 3K a month, whatever, so you can just live comfortably and then start exploring the whole space. So I guess the first step, it was just to kind of like start making money.
Start making money, simple as that. And I don't think that people should overcomplicate. Like there are like a lot of people looking for some kind of inspiration to start things or whatever. You shouldn't overcomplicate. Everyone needs money, and we go, that's how the world works.
Yeah, I mean, you just understand models, like how the business works. Do you want to be in like, kind of like huge profit margins, easy kind of business models, or do you want to be a bit more complex and then scale? So, you just understand your business model, you make your first buck and start living off that business model and then take it from there.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's exactly what we did back in, I guess, 2019.
And then actually we started to earn our first money, and back in the day, that's why like we got really inspired by the Shugatan, and it was like David, I don't know, like OG e-commerce guys should know him. And we sort of, since he was a Lithuanian and since he was a local guy who made it really big in e-commerce as a basically growth marketer in a Shugatan agency, then it was like a role model for us. We were like looking and followed like every
was doing those articles, like really big
every
ones.
article, every post. We followed them, and we like actually contacted him and tried to learn from as much as we can, because he actually showed us that it's not only gaining money, but at the same time you can build such skill that you will deliver service, and by it's not only sales, it's sales and delivery, and if you connect those two things, then you can be the best in the game. And he actually proved us, I guess, for us, at least for those young guys that we were like 19 years old, that it's actually really doable, so for that.
And what I liked about him is like his thinking model was pretty deep. He was into details, he was explaining it from way different way than the rest of the game, and I feel like that thinking model, at first it wasn't like giving us any benefit, but when I'm looking back right now, I feel like I'm glad we saw that guy like David us instead of like random YouTube guru, whatever.
It was like two ways. I mean, you either look for a dropshipper, a random dropshipper who's saying all the same bullshit, how to run marketing, or you follow that guy back in the day, because back then it was not a lot of, at least for us, not a lot of accessible mentors or just people who shared really good information.
So we kind of got lucky in a way where, we found a guy who's thinking deeply, and he's not like mechanic following the rules of e-com. So we did that by just reading articles, talking, going to events, whatever. And I guess somewhere around 2020, we got our first big client case study. It went from 150 to 1 mil a month in a matter of like 60 days or so. And yeah, that was like a first kickstart into like a US market, into like worldwide, signing, big clients, getting challenged by, the whole creatives, media buying, things like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's like, because like we had only one case study, and when we got that case study, we started to sign more and more US clients. The thing was that actually, you cannot double down on one case study, because it still doesn't show that you are really good for a job. But I guess it helped us to gave us that motivation that is really doable, and then we just basically started to hire new people and basically focus on one thing and one thing only that I think we did best at the time, and we still have it. It is volume. We always thought that every client that we will get, everything depends on the volume, to how much tests you are doing every day, how much you are testing. Maybe you're not go deeply into the quality of the things, but back in the day we were just scraping heavily competitors, revamping ads, and that's our, I guess, first trait and main sort of unique selling point that we have right now, and we established back then, is basically hard work and understanding that still the e-commerce is the auction game, competition game, and usually winning side is always over testing the other side who's losing. So if you want to win,
at first it was like our first and probably the only thing we got. It was just the volume, because we didn't know much about data, we didn't know much about all the tactics out there. So that was the only tool we got in terms of overall growth, and we were just throwing every single trick we got, and we were just looking at what sticks in a way. And now I feel like we got quite a few things that stick and build out the whole principles, I guess, of how we are actually approaching e-com and e-com business in
exactly.
general.
I think that the execution part was built back then in terms of the core team and values of our team, that so we understood what kind of employees we want to hire, how do we want to train them, what kind of basically mindset we should put in our employees, and that was, I think I could say that's the first thing that we sort of established really heavily, that we are double downing still right now. And fast forward, I mean, of course, so imagine you are 19, 20 years old, you scale your agency to, I don't know, 60K per month MRR. Of course, always after that you're gonna have a dump, and we had multiple dumps because we're still young people back in the day. We thought that it's gonna be easier, but we started to fail, and then we started to basically look why we were failing. And I think what we decided is basically that we sort of got exhausted by working with clients. By the business model. Because back then we thought that, I think if we are putting so much effort and volume for our clients, we should put for our brands. And a lot of people still think that way, because we always get questions, why are you running mainly agency but not brands if you can't do that?
We thought that, we're scaling all these brands and we can do the same pretty much.
Yeah, do this.
We did exactly that. We switched from clients.
So it's 2023.
Yeah, 2023 we launched our first brand. It went pretty well, pretty solid. It was quite profitable. I mean, to the level where we can just take a little bit of cash out. And I guess that was one of the big mistakes there, but not getting too much attention on that. I feel like we're just pushing hard on that brand. It started growing. We went from 0 to like 500K, something like that, in a matter of like 6 months. And it was, I guess, December, and we thought, okay, now we're gonna launch the second brand, third brand.
Yeah, we just thought that we're gonna replicate the framework that we did.
I mean,
focus,
just grow.
We sort of thought that we found the model that we can easily replicate and scale other brands with the same volume, and we sort of did it without any risk management, because just imagine, so for the whole 2023, we launched in the beginning of 2023 on March, we launched a brand, we see that it is scaling. We started to basically de-shift our focus from agency, and we just sort of stopped doing sales, stopped doing like everything, and we just sort of work with clients with who still wanted to work. Like we put zero focus from founder's perspective. We totally like doubled down on the internal brands, and that's gonna sort of was a mistake, but I'm super happy that it happened, because from it we learned how to manage multiple revenue streams.
I would say that was the part where we understood like strategic moves in a way, like how the business is flowing, what kind of decisions you make, and how they reflect on the back end, on your cash flow, and like in general.
We actually understood the number one thing that we learned, that e-commerce and agency from money making side is a totally different game. Because agency is a cash flow business. We knew that, but we thought, okay, but if we want to if we want to do e-commerce, and if we will make profits 20-25% net margins, we will be able to like sort of use it as a cash cow. But it isn't until you basically work on that for 2-3 years. But like for the first year when you're building the e-commerce brand, it is very important to put all the cash back into stock growth and try to minimize your OPEX, the amount of money you put on your operational expenses. And we basically thought that, fuck it, I mean, it's gonna be as an agency, we're gonna multiply the same framework, and we sort of gonna live from the brands. And then I think our first reality check hit on January, of course, after the Black Friday. We generated a lot of cash during Q4. Then I think the January was the month where we sort of ended doing agency. We had only 2 clients, very like niche service delivery, which
so we kept kind of like, I guess we kept all the people, all the overheads, all like the office expense, everything we got from an agency. We got like 2 clients, and then we got a store that is going down.
Yeah, it's going down. At the same time, all the yearly taxes came into place. So a lot of very hard lessons in terms of how to manage e-commerce cash flow, because at the same time we don't have any credit system in Europe, in our country, so we cannot leverage that or something like that. But
I'm happy we don't have that. Back then it was like we would be broke right now. We wouldn't be sitting here in Malta.
Exactly. And I think January, February we started to test a lot of different products to basically establish new brands. And I guess in 3 months, like in quarter one of 2024, I could say that we've tested around from 7 to 10 pretty decent products, and all of them failed, which resulted in, I don't know, a lot of cash being burned. I could say that we've burned easily 100K in cash throughout quarter one, and at the same time we were paying payrolls for our core team to basically be with us, and we were sort of just burning cash on another level, you know.
Yeah.
burning
And there was
burning.
No plan, like how we're gonna fix this.
No, it was
like,
totally hopium, you know, that like one day we're gonna wake up and the ads will perform for our, I don't know, whichever product we test, and then we're gonna scale that, and then we're gonna become millionaires, which is delusional, I think. I mean, still, it requires a lot of luck. Of course it is possible, but for us back then, luck was not on our side, and we needed to basically come up with the plan of how we will be moving forward. And actually, I think April was the month where we had only two ways. So we either go sort of bankrupt, we fire all the team, we just, I don't know, stick with 3-4 main people from our team, and we just sort of try to do something from scratch, you know?
Yeah, we're thinking maybe we should just do like consulting. We're just gonna stay like, 5-people team.
Yeah.
We're gonna have like, a few clients, 50K MRR, and we're gonna be like hugely profitable.
Yeah.
And live that kind of lifestyle. Or we just fix from the fundamental level, fix something, and then bounce back and find what works. And I guess back then we just took like few, I guess, critical decisions on like how we're gonna move forward. We kind of like, we wanted to test out that agency model once again to see like how that works. I guess the breaking point was when we actually started treating lead gen seriously. That's the moment where we started running ads.
I think, like, in general, from the mindset perspective, I think the most important point was that we sort of accepted the fear of losing everything, you know? Because, like, I remember I was very overthinking of, oh my god, I'm gonna be a loser, I'm gonna fail, the Kandy will just basically will be gone, etc. And that thought basically stopped me from just doing things, because the reality was that right now we can say that we started to focus on lead gen, but the reality was that we just decided to focus on our agency's digital products. That's it. And we basically focused heavily on that. We spent hours and hours basically of trying to find a winning product which could give us the volume.
Yeah.
And then I remember, boom, before Easter, a couple of days, I think we've launched Canva templates.
Yeah.
It was doing sort of okay, sort of promising, but then after Easter, boom, 100K a day revenue. We sort of, okay, that's nice. And we are sort of profitable as well, so we will be able to take that profit and lower our negative profits, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like we were getting leads, we were getting a ton of buyers and pretty solid ones, like really big brands, like 8-figure, 9-figure companies in the pipeline, and we were profitable on that. So we were taking out profits while generating clients in a way.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where the whole thing switched. And I guess just because we had all those learnings from, mistakes we did, all the way from 2019 till 2023, mistakes we did with the whole running our own e-com brands and, switching, way too fast switching to our own brands instead of agency. That's where I guess we were prepared to manage the whole pipeline of our, new up and coming clients.
At the same time, I mean, we've learned a lot with our internal brands, specifically. So we sort of increased the volume, increased the lead gen, we started to have calls, and everything basically compound. Basically, so at the same time, it sort of gave us the new perspective of how we deliver service and what clients actually need, because we own an internal brand. We understand that, I don't know, imagine agencies, media buying plus content creatives agency comes to you. He says that our goal is gonna be 2x ROI and spend as much as I want, and we will as much as we are able. So
no, I mean, like, it's just like, I guess whenever agencies say that they understand the brand owner, and if they have never ran their own brand, they just don't understand that. And I feel like by hitting the rock bottom with our own brands, by testing products, by running that business model, we just understood like how brand owner feels, and we were able to put ourselves into perspective of what needs to be there in order to hire an agency. So I remember back then we were like, we got a lead. It was pretty small company, and we were like, okay, we're gonna charge them like a ton. And I was like, if I would put myself into their position with my own brand, and someone will just go in and say, here's the offer, here's what I'm going to charge you, you know, it could be a fucking magician. I just wouldn't, you know, hire them.
Yeah,
the cash flow, the business model is way different. So I feel like when we got all those leads, all the pipeline, whatever, it was quite good. I guess we just put ourselves into perspective of how the brand owner feels and what needs to be there and what kind of results, what kind of like, you know, strategic moves we should make in order to kind of like make sense.
Yeah, and basically on what level to build strategies. And I think like if we compare old Kandy, which is 2021, 2022, and current Kandy, is that we focus, like we sort of at some points do the same things, but we are focusing on way different, you know, data and KPIs that we have to focus on. Back in the day, we were just purely focusing on efficiency of the marketing, MER, ROAS. That is still important, but it's not important if it's not profitable, you know.
And that's where we just didn't even know like where it's coming from. You know, we were kind of like, you know, we were really happy if something works, but we, first of all, we are not aware of like why it works. Second of all, if something breaks, we're like, you know, just running around and doing nothing.
But the reality is that, guys, like if you're like run an e-commerce brand, e-commerce in a way it is a very simple game. It is just basically AOV, customer acquisition, COGS, OPEX, and if you're running subscription model, it is a take rate and churn, and that's it. And then you just basically break down each of them and look for the solutions, and everything can be very explainable why you don't perform and where you should focus on and what's your leaking points. Simple as that.
I guess, you know, like a lot of e-com owners, like they're looking at this kind of like North Star ROAS, or let's say new customer acquisition cost, whatever, and whenever it's going down, they're like, okay, let's test more creative, let's do this, let's do that, you know, let's play with listicles, let's, you know, send more emails, whatever. So they're kind of like doing everything at once. And I feel like whenever you understand data and like strategy in general, like how this whole e-com game works, you can just basically jump in, look at data, and understand like where you should be focusing on and where is your true like main key problem, and you know what needs to be there.
Yeah, and sometimes owners and other agencies as well who are running services, they just don't understand what your inputs today or like short-term inputs actually do in terms of long-term outputs. They look basically on day-to-day basis, they go to the ads manager, oh shit, we've hit 2.5. We are like, I don't know, 1x ROAS behind our KPIs. But in reality, you bought that customer. That customer has lifetime value, retention, and in general, that customer is like nowhere gone.
Yeah,
you bought
like,
it, you know?
Well, if you're doing like the right things, if you're just, you know, like you're hitting 2.5, doing nothing, and just hoping that somewhere in the future it will be like 3.5, then I feel like it's dumb. But if you
it used to be like 3 years ago. Right now it's different, I guess, and that's why people have to shift, I guess, and that's where we are shifting, like basically implementing our playbooks and sort of building our internal playbooks that we can offer to the clients, to basically how to build those strategies and, as you said, where to focus on, you know?
Yeah, I feel like, you know, e-com was really early. Back when we started, like 2019, it was still early. I guess the true start of e-com was like 2016, and I feel like whenever the market is like, let's say 7, 8, 10 years in the game, I feel like that's exactly the point where it gets established. You know, all the fake ones, delusional ones, like they get wiped out, and the true, you know, business practice, strategy, data things, they just come into play. And I feel like 2025 is exactly the moment to rethink, to restructure, and understand e-com game to the fundamental level. Just to give you an example, like real estate. Back in the day, they were selling homes for like $5, like $10, whatever. Then prices, they start to increase. Then people were just not buying their home just because they just simply don't have the money. Banks came in and say, look guys, we're just gonna finance you, you're gonna pay off that in like 30 years, and that's basically money over time. So I feel like e-com is entering pretty much the same stage. It's getting established, and it's going to be way more towards money over time, where you just acquire the customer, you build a relationship, you do that at a high volume to measure your churn, whatever, and you're just going to earn money over time instead of just, you know.
Yeah, reality is pretty simple. If we summarize this in one sentence is that winning in 2025 and onwards, especially with 26, 27, is going to be, winners will be those who will be able to spend the most to acquire a customer.
Yeah.
And you have to build the model around it, and that should be your goal, because you have to understand one very simple thing, that not each year, but in general, if your spend increases a lot month over month, your customer acquisition will arise, and it will hit the point at some level that is not going to be profitable for you anymore, you know? To acquire
you just gotta find ways how to make things work on the back end. I feel like that's exactly the
work on the
point.
back end, which would allow you to basically pay way more than your competitors are paying to acquire a customer, because if you can pay double the amount to acquire a customer than your competition, it means that you can spend way more money and just eliminate the competition and just
it's just the auction game at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, whoever bids more wins the game, and if you find ways how to earn more money through that customer, through the same ads, whatever, you're just going to be a winner. So
and I think that summarizing our current stage of philosophy, I guess, or playbook, whatever to call it, but when I talked about establishing volume mindset back in 2020, that's like nowhere gone, it's still there, but right now I think we connect that volume with understanding and pinpointing the main needle movers for the business, focus points of where we should focus, you know, of how to scale that business, and then we implement the volume mindset and systems that we have in place to basically scale. Because sometimes I just, like, when I audit clients or when I start working with the clients, I look at their numbers and I see that they're focusing on everything, improving everything, you know, but in reality, you should find one primary thing and one secondary thing, which is basically leaking the business. And you have to fix both two, you know, both of them.
Yeah, I feel like it's not only that they're focusing on everything, it's also that they're kind of like focusing on, at least putting their focus on the wrong thing. So as example, you know, let's say their churn rate is exactly the point where they need to work on, because, you know, that's exactly the point where they're missing a ton of money, a ton of profits, whatever, but they're focusing on listicles, as an example. So, I mean, you can run as many listicles as you want. You will change agencies, you will fire people, you'll do whatever, but your true problem where the business is leaking is not like the conversion rate or whatever. Your problem is your retention, you know, churn rate. If you find ways how to fix that, you can just afford, you know, like 2x CAC. Yeah, I mean, you can just afford the same CAC as you're currently at, even if it's not profitable.
So yeah, guys, I think that's why I know we can sort of summarize. In 2025, our main focus is an agency, but since we're partnering up with a lot of amazing brands, which we really love to work.
And we still have our own brands.
Yeah, we still have our own brands, but in general, like, our mission, our goal is to sort of build a proper foundation and sort of go from agency and enter the private equity to basically start acquiring the brands that we love to work with. Because I think what we found among the year that we are really great at marketing, not so great at product development.
Yeah.
So that's why it just makes even more sense to acquire part of the brands with the founders who are really good at products, really motivational about their product. And we are basically establishing all the marketing department and scaling the business and preparing them for exits. But this is one of the goals. The third goal, internal brands, they're nowhere to be gone. We still have our own brands. At the same time, I think we're gonna document it.
Yeah,
also
it's gonna
the journey.
be, I guess, way more information about, you know, these brands that are coming up in the future.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly the reason for you to click that subscribe button somewhere.
Yeah.
It's going to be a ton of content, a ton of decisions, mistakes, learnings, and everything in between to share on YouTube. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
I think we have a lot to say, a lot to share. I don't know. And I don't actually even care if it's valuable or not valuable. I think personally, for me to documentate and do personal content around the errors challenges we face in the business, challenges that we face in e-commerce, put a bit of lifestyle, is just sort of for accountability and pushing to be better. If we help with our content at least 1% of the people, you know, to be better at running business, at running e-commerce, or for the mindset thing, I'm gonna be happy, you know, because it's more for us than to be accountable and learn the skill of sharing, you know, ideas. And who knows, maybe it's gonna build up to something huge, something nice. And I think when like we are growing really fast right now in terms of the team, building systems, I think we can share a lot, not only about building brands in e-commerce, but at the same time from the marketing perspective of an agency, I think.
Yep.
So yeah, I think since the sun is set, I think we can wrap this up. We will go to the dinner, our buffet.
We're gonna, I guess today is the fish day, so we're gonna catch some fish, cook them up.
Oh fuck, really fish.
And
I hate fish to be honest. Yeah.
yeah, actually the sunset was one of the best we got throughout the days, so you guys got lucky to see that one as well. Maldives has been great. That's
Yeah, actually I over exceeded my expectation to be honest, because I'm sort of a guy who likes to be in the places where there's a lot of action, a lot of to-do things, and sort of I thought Maldives is like a small island. Yeah, you get on the sunbed for a couple of days and that's it. But to be honest, like I think it's one of the best places to come actually for an entrepreneurs to be present. Because be present and just basically connect with yourself again, because I think whenever you are an entrepreneur it's fucking really hard, you know, to be present because you're always thinking about upcoming call, upcoming
you're
meeting.
just at war. I mean, you just go through hell in order to kind of like make some kind of like improvement on yourself.
Yeah,
and
I think
hit
if
numbers.
Maldives wouldn't have an internet, it would be even better, to be honest.
Yeah, but I mean, the Slack is bothering us, but we're at the growth stage, so we took a bit of Maldivian chill, grounding, whatever, being present, but at the same time, we kept growing, and we're gonna be growing even more when we're back in Dubai, and from Dubai back to Vilnius. And we're just gonna shoot some content for you guys.
Yeah.
So stay with us, and yeah, see you soon.